One of the major optical mineralogy is uniaxial optics. So remember, minerals are grouped isotropic and anisotropic. So if we relate that to crystal systems, only one crystal system belong to isotropic, which is the isometric or the cubic crystal system. So anisotropic minerals are grouped into two, uniaxial and biaxial. So they are grouped based on the number of optic axes. Okay? So uniaxial have one optic axis, biaxial have two optic axes. So under uniaxial, you have hexagonal and tetragonal crystal systems. And for biaxial, you have monoclinic, orthorhombic, and triclinic. So first, I will discuss uniaxial optics. So uniaxial optics is best explained by using the double refraction experiment using a calcite. So this is a calcite. So in this experiment, you have a single dot on a piece of paper. And as you place the calcite, there are two images formed. So from one dot on the paper, now by placing a piece of calcite rhomb, you now have two images or two dots. So these two dots correspond to the double rays or the two rays due to double refraction. So these two rays are called the ordinary ray and the extraordinary ray. So in the calcite experiment, the ordinary ray, it is the image that remains stationary, and the extraordinary ray, also known as the E ray, denoted by Greek epsilon, it rotates as we change the orientation of the calcite rhomb. So how do we determine the optic sign of a uniaxial crystal? So the optic sign is based on which ray has a greater index of refraction. So you have the two rays, the epsilon and the omega. The epsilon is the extraordinary, the omega is the ordinary. So if the index of the extraordinary is greater than the index of the ordinary, the optic sign is positive. But if it is less than, it is negative. So therefore, the extraordinary ray can be the maximum or the minimum index of refraction. So again, extraordinary and ordinary, if Fe is greater than O, that is positive. If E is less than O, that is negative. So we visualize the optic sign using an indicatrix. So remember that in isotropic minerals, the indicatrix is sphere, since the index of refraction are the same in all directions. It is a sphere. But since for uniaxial, you have two indices, so the shape is an ellipse, a biaxial ellipse. Two axes, the NO and the NE. That's why it is a biaxial ellipsoid. So for optically positive uniaxial mineral, the shape of the indicatrix is prolate because the y-axis, which is the E ray, is greater than the x-axis, which is the O ray. And for optically negative, it is an oblate. So since E is less than O, mas longer ang axis along the x-axis. So it is an oblate ellipsoid. So generally, uniaxial indicatrix is a biaxial ellipsoid. Biaxial because it has two axes. Ang prolate is positive, oblate is negative. So P, positive, prolate, positive. So these are the different sections of the uniaxial indicatrix. You have the circular section, the principal section, and the random section. So in the circular section, it is perpendicular to the E ray. So this is the section in which the mineral behaves like isotropic mineral. It is the circular section in which the mineral behaves isotropic. Isotropic siya kay equal ang indices of refraction in all directions. The principal section, this is the maximum birefringence because it contains both the E axis, the E ray, and the omega ray. So therefore, the difference of the refractive indices is greater along the principal section. So this has the maximum birefringence. And the random section, this has an intermediate birefringence. So therefore, the cut of the mineral determines the type of birefringence. So if you cut the mineral perpendicular to the principal section, therefore the mineral is always extinct in XPL because it behaves isotropic. But if you cut the mineral parallel sa E ray, then it will have a maximum birefringence or maximum interference color. And then random section is intermediate between extinction and the maximum. So what is the implication? It means that the interference color and the birefringence of a mineral is not constant because it will depend on the type of cut of the mineral. So what is an interference figure? The interference figure allows us to determine if a mineral is uniaxial or biaxial, as well as determine its optic sign. So ang gamit sa interference figure is para ma-determine if uniaxial or biaxial, as well as ma-determine ang optic sign of a mineral. So how do we what are the steps to obtain the interference figure? First is you have to focus on the mineral grain, and then you have to flip in the auxiliary condenser. This is the most important part, to flip in the auxiliary condenser. It's because interference figures are obtained using conoscopic illumination. So, di ba, we have two types of illuminations. We have the orthoscopic and the conoscopic. Orthoscopic, pag straight lang ang path of light. So that is used for examining relief, pleochroism. But for interference figures, it should be conoscopic illumination in which you have a strongly convergent light. Pag mag-converge ang light, that is conoscopic illumination. That's why we have to flip in the auxiliary condenser. Then we have to open the aperture diaphragm, cross the polars, and then lastly, insert the Bertrand lens. So sometimes step 5 is optional, kung walang Bertrand lens ang microscope, you can simply remove the oculars sa microscope. Remember, yung ocular kadtong kung asa ka magtanaw, kung saan mo i-position mo ang eyes. You can remove the oculars if the microscope doesn't have a Bertrand lens. But for clear interference figures, mas appropriate na gamiton ang Bertrand lens. So, what does an interference figure look like? So this is an image of an interference figure. So this is typical of uniaxial minerals. It forms a cross. Again, the interference figure of a uniaxial mineral is always nakakross. Later on, you will see there is a difference between the interference figure of the uniaxial and biaxial. But this is for uniaxial, nakakross siya. So, in an interference figure, you have several parts. The melatope, which is the center of the interference figure. The isogyre, which are the cross or the arms of the cross. And then the colored bands are the isochrome. Another thing is that at the melatope, this is where the optic axis emerges. So, mo ni siya ang dirian nag-emerge ang optic axis of the mineral in the melatope. So, di ba? We use the interference figure to determine if it's uniaxial or biaxial. So, uniaxial siya, it's because nakakross siya. As you rotate the stage, it remains a cross nga figure. Now, another thing na ma-determine nato using the interference figure is the optic sign, whether it is uniaxial negative or uniaxial positive. So in this example, we will use the southeast quadrant as the reference for our interpretation. So to determine the optic sign, you need to insert the accessory plate. So in this figure, magenta, this is the gypsum accessory plate. So in the gypsum accessory plate, the fast ray is aligned along the length of the accessory plate, and then perpendicular ana is the slow ray. So using the southeast quadrant as the reference, if the interference color increases, it is a uniaxial negative. If it decreases, it is a uniaxial positive. Take note nga ang ato ang reference is the southeast quadrant. But if it's the northeast quadrant, then mag-reverse ang rule. If you look at the northeast quadrant, if it decreases, it is negative. If it increases, it is positive. Okay, so you choose kung unsa nga quadrant ang inyong gamiton for your interpretation. If northeast or southeast. Some of the books, ang ilahang reference is northeast. In fact, kung mag-research mo sa YouTube, northeast ang ilahang reference. So, just remember nga nag-change ang interference colors based on the quadrant. So therefore, the rule must reverse. So using the southeast quadrant, colors increase. O-ray is the slow ray. It is optically negative. Colors decrease. O-ray is the fast ray. It is optically positive. Ang order of interference color. Dili, ang color, for For example, from first order maging second order. But if mag-decrease, that is from second order to first order. So, that's why ang color na usually ginagamit is blue and yellow. Okay, typically, sa isochromes na makita, ang naalang sa quadrant, what you can see in the quadrants are the katong white and grayish. So therefore, as you insert the accessory plate, it's either mo increase siya into second order blue or it will decrease into first order yellow. But remember, di ba sa Michel-Levy chart, mas higher ang yellow. But since we're talking sa absolute value of the difference, therefore, decrease gihapon siya. If you recall, di ba sa Michel-Levy chart, from black to gray to white, then yellow. So if initially, color gray, tapos naging yellow, your initial interpretation is nag-increase. But since we're talking sa absolute value of the difference, decrease gihapon siya. Okay, so that's why yellow and blue ang color for increase it is blue, for decrease it is yellow. So this one, this is the optic axis interference figure because in the middle is the optic axis. But there are also other types of interference figures. You have the off-center optic axis figure and the flash figure. So, the optic axis figure can be obtained pag perpendicular along the c-axis ang cut. Again, optic axis figure is obtained if the cut is perpendicular sa c-axis. Along the c-axis, di ba, is the E-ray. So therefore, optic axis figure is obtained pag ang mineral behaves as isotropic. Diba? Katong optic axis na orientation, the mineral will behave as isotropic. So it is always extinct in 360 degrees rotation. So if you get the interference figure of that mineral, you will get the optic axis figure. But if the cut is parallel sa E-ray or the C-axis, the interference figure is called a flash figure. So mas bigger ang iyahang isogyres. In fact, a small degree of rotation will cause a flashing effect sa interference figure. So that's why it is called a flash figure. And then for random cut, you will get the off-center optic axis figure. So sometimes the melotope cannot be seen in the interference figure. Because as you can see, based on the orientation, the melotope is outside the field of view. So optic axis figure, off-center optic axis figure, and flash figure. Okay, so that's it for uniaxial optics. I hope clear ang terminologies under the uniaxial optics. So we discussed the optic sign, the parts of the uniaxial indicatrix, the interference figure, and then other types of interference figures in uniaxial minerals. Okay, so that's it for uniaxial optics. Next, we proceed with biaxial optics. So in biaxial optics, you have three indices of refraction. So in uniaxial, we label the indices of refraction as NO and NE. But for biaxial, since you have three indices of refraction, we label them as alpha, beta, and gamma. The maximum index of refraction is the gamma, the minimum is the alpha. So the maximum birefringence is the difference between N gamma and N alpha. So the rays are extraordinary. So now we have to determine whether these rays are fast ray or slow ray to determine the optic sign. So the alpha, the slow ray, is between alpha and beta, and the fast ray is between alpha and gamma. So the biaxial indicatrix is also an ellipsoid, but now it is triaxial because it has three axes, the alpha, the beta, and the gamma. So ayaw lang mo ka-confuse. Uniaxial is biaxial ellipsoid, biaxial is a triaxial ellipsoid. And then isotropic is sphere. So biaxial minerals, again, they have two optic axes labeled as OA. The angle between the two optic axes is what we call the 2V angle. And then just like the uniaxial indicatrix, it has circular section, but for biaxial, dalawa ang circular section. Because there are two cuts in which the mineral behaves isotropic. So along perpendicular sa first optic axis and then perpendicular sa second optic axis. And then mga principal sections which are ellipse. Again, OA, dalawang circular section, and then the angle between the two optic axes is what we call the 2V angle. So the plane that contains the optic axis is what we call the optic axial plane. So this plane is the optic axial plane. And then it is at right angle to the y indicatrix axis, which is always referred to as the optic normal. So XZ is the optic plane because it contains the two optic axes, itong OA, dalawang OA, and then perpendicular to the optic plane is the optic normal. So the optic normal is always the y-axis. And then the optic plane is always the XZ plane. Parts of the biaxial indicatrix, optic plane, XZ, optic axis, yung dalawang optic axis na located within the optic plane, 2V, the angle between the two optic axes. And then we also have the BXA and the BXO. The BXA, A means acute, BX means bisectrix, so BXA is acute bisectrix. BXO, O, obtuse, so BXO is the obtuse bisectrix. So in geometry, a bisector divides an angle into two equal parts. So an acute bisectrix bisects an acute angle. And then the obtuse bisectrix bisects an obtuse angle. So, dito sa figure na to, anong axis ang acute bisectrix? Is it the X, Y, or Z? Saan ang acute bisectrix? X, Y, or Z? It is the Z. Because the 2V here, the angle between the two optic axes is an acute angle. So the Z-axis bisects this acute angle. So it is an acute bisectrix. So the Z-axis here is the acute bisectrix. How about the obtuse bisectrix? Is it the X, Y, or Z? It is the X-axis. X-axis, ito yung obtuse angle. So the X-axis divides that angle into two equal parts. So therefore, acute bisectrix can be the Z or X as well as the obtuse bisectrix. The optic normal is always the Y-axis. The Y-axis cannot be the obtuse bisectrix or the acute bisectrix. It is always the optic normal. Just like uniaxial minerals, biaxial minerals also have optic sign, whether it is positive or negative. Based on the indicatrix, if the acute bisectrix is the Z-axis, it is optically positive. If ang acute bisectrix is the Z-axis, it is positive. Meaning that the indicatrix is elongated along the Z-axis. So that also means that the 2V along the Z-axis, so 2VZ, it means the 2V on the Z-axis is less than 90. Since the Z-axis is the acute bisectrix. Diba pag acute, it should be less than 90 degrees. On the other hand, it is negative if the acute bisectrix is the X-axis. So ito ang X-axis. Ito yung dalawang optic axis. So along the X-axis ang acute angle. So therefore, X-axis is the acute bisectrix, it is negative. Hence, the 2V along the Z-axis is greater than 90. Since the Z-axis now is the obtuse bisectrix. So pwede din, pag ang Z-axis is the acute bisectrix, positive. If ang Z-axis is the obtuse bisectrix, negative. So there are different ways to define the optic sign of a biaxial mineral. Based on the bisectrix and also based on the 2V angle. I hope it's clear. Understand pa? Goods pa? Yes. Equal to 90 ang special case na siya of biaxial optics. A special case of biaxial indicatrix is the uniaxial indicatrix. But since we cannot draw the indicatrix using the petrographic microscope, so here is a guide para ma-determine ang optic sign using the interference figure and using the petrographic microscope. So depending on the degrees of rotation, so you have these guides to determine the optic sign. At 0 degrees, pag yellow ang southeast, positive. Pag blue ang southeast, negative. So, diba? It may look like a uniaxial interference figure. But the difference between the interference figures of uniaxial and biaxial is that once you rotate the interference figure of biaxial, it separates into two different isogyres. So you always have to rotate the interference figure to determine if it's uniaxial or biaxial. Another way is to orient it at 45 degrees. So if at 45 degrees, in the southeast is yellow, it is positive. In the southeast is blue, it is negative. And then from 0 to 90, it will go back to the original rule. Yellow on southeast, positive. Blue on southeast, negative. And then at 135 degrees, still yellow on southeast, positive. Blue on southeast, negative. So take note na different na ang orientation sa 45 and 135. But the color on the quadrants still remains. Actually, naay kuan mnemonics to determine the optic sign. It is the BURP, burp. Blue upper right portion, positive. Blue upper right, positive. Ang BURP. BURP, burp. That is a guide or mnemonics to determine the optic sign. Blue upper right, positive. BURP. So here is an example of a biaxial interference figure. So initially cross siya, and then as you rotate the stage, it separates and then it goes back at 90 degrees, and then this is 135 degrees. So mamili ka kung unsang orientation ang imong gamiton to insert the compensator. So here, ang gigamit na compensator is the jigsaw. Yellow, blue. Blue upper right, positive. So that's why commonly ginagamit sa mga illustrations ang blue and yellow. Because as you can see, kapag wala pa ang compensator, typically color white o gray ang makita lang sa view. Therefore, it can be mag-increase siya to second order blue or it will decrease to first order yellow. Depende. Sometimes, ang ubang accessory plate, dili kayo nimo you cannot easily determine ang changes sa interference color. So, it's up to you para mas ma-determine jud nimo kung nabagi changes, mamili ka kung unsa nga compensator. But the commonly used compensator is the gypsum plate. Okay, another example. Kung sa ganin nyo ang optic sign katong first, BUR, it is positive. Blue upper right, positive. So, insert ang compensator. Positive gyapon eh. Pag same naman yung siguro ni na video. Wala ko na change. Kani yata ang different. Nagi yellow na parts. Pero ang katong inner ang mong tanawan. Kani quartz. Yellow. Negative. BURP, burp. Kana, it is dependent po sa type of petrographic microscope. Kay sometimes different ang orientation sa compensator. Kusay opposite siya. 'Di ba? Ganina from southeast gisulod ang compensator. Other microscope diri sa other side, sa southwest. So depende sa type of microscope. So dependent siya sa direction. And then kung sa opposite side, mag-reverse ang rule. Okay, uniaxial as a special case of biaxial indicatrix. So basically, a uniaxial is a special biaxial in which the 2v is equal to 0. So pag ang 2v is equal to 0, it is uniaxial. That's why a uniaxial is a special case of biaxial indicatrix. So we have uniaxial positive if the n alpha is equal to the n beta, the z, the x is equal to the y, so z-axis is the optic axis. But for uniaxial negative, it is the n beta that is equal to the n gamma. So x-axis is the optic axis. In this second example. So uniaxial is a biaxial indicatrix where the 2v is equal to 0. So what are the different types of biaxial interference figures? So biaxial interference figures are classified based on what axis emerges at the center of the optic axis. At the center of the interference figure. Again, biaxial interference figures are classified based on what axis is at the center of the interference figure. So if the center of the interference figure is the optic axis, we call it optic axis figure. If the center is the acute bisectrix, we call it the acute bisectrix figure. If the center is the obtuse bisectrix, it is the obtuse bisectrix figure. And then if it's the y-axis or the optic normal, it is the optic normal figure. Also known as the flash figure. So ano ang common between terminologies sa uniaxial interference and biaxial interference? Itong optic axis figure and optic normal figure. What's unique for biaxial interference are acute bisectrix and obtuse bisectrix figure. It's because walang acute bisectrix and obtuse bisectrix ang uniaxial. So again, it is dependent on the cut of the mineral. So this is the acute bisectrix figure. So at the center is the acute bisectrix. And then ito yung optic axis. So therefore, dalawang melatope ang makita for acute bisectrix figure. Diba? This is the optic axis, and then this is the second optic axis. So if we trace that to the interference figure, dalawa siya. Itong M, isang M at saka isang M. So for very low 2V angle, visible ang dalawang melatopes for acute bisectrix. Pero sometimes, if the 2V is close to 90 degrees, medyo nanasa sa edge ang dalawang melatope. But for very small angles, visible pa siya sa interference figure. So, as compared to katong regular cross, for acute bisectrix, medyo nag-pin sa arms. And then diriya pod, nag-pin sa diriya sa arms. That's how we can identify na dyan ang melatope and then dito ang isang melatope. And then walang melatope sa gitna because sa gitna is ang acute bisectrix axis. So acute bisectrix, dalawang melatope ang possible na makita sa interference figure. For optic axis figure, it is centered on either of the two optic axes. Di ba, dalawang optic axis. So, pwede yung isa ang ma-center. So, for optic axis figure na biaxial, isang arm lang ng isogyre ang makita, in which the center is the optic axis. So, this is the melatope. Basically, ito siya, pero nag-zoom ka dito na part. Sa itong arm or ito na arm or sa kabilang arm, either of the two. So, di ba? This is just part of a bigger picture here. And then the other two types are the obtuse bisectrix and the flash figure. So obtuse bisectrix, you cannot see the melatopes in the interference figure. Bakit? Bakit hindi makita ang dalawang melatopes pag obtuse bisectrix figure? What is the 2V for the obtuse bisectrix? It is very large. So therefore, if you cut, wala siya, hindi siya ma-trace sa interference figure. So, if thicker ang arm sa interference figure, no matter how many times you rotate it, thicker pa din siya. So that's how you can identify that the interference figure is obtuse bisectrix. On the other hand, ang flash figure, very thick ang isogyre. Almost all of the view are isogyres, and only a small portion are the isochromes. Pero, a small rotation of the flash figure will cause a flashing effect. Mag-blink ang view due to a very small angle of rotation. Okay, so acute bisectrix, it looks like a uniaxial optic axis figure. The difference is may nagpin na part on both sides of the isogyres. So, dyan yung dalawang melatope. For optic axis figure na biaxial, isang arm lang ang makita, in which the center is one of the optic axis or one of the melatopes. And then for obtuse bisectrix, very thick as compared to the acute bisectrix kasi ang dalawang melatopes are outside the field of view. Hindi na siya makita due to a very large 2V angle. And then lastly, the flash figure. So we discussed the 2V angle. The 2V angle is the two optic axes, the angle between the two optic axes. But there's also what we call the 2E angle. The 2V, it's between the two optic axes. But since light is refracted, meron kang mabuo na another angle in which it is less than the 2V angle. That is what we call the 2E angle. The 2V, it is the actual angle between the two optic axes. But due to refraction, we have a 2E angle. The 2E angle can be used to calculate the 2V angle because it is the 2E angle that can be measured using the microscope. So we have several methods to determine the 2V angle. First is the Maillard's method. It uses an acute bisectrix figure. So this is an acute bisectrix figure in which at 45 degrees angle, nag-separate ang isogyre. So meron tong formula sa book, but we will not discuss the formula. But the idea is that we will measure the tip of the isojars, so that is 2D, as well as the entire radius of the field of view. So, using these measurements na pwede ma-measure gamit ang microscope, and then a formula na nasa book, pero ayoko nang i-discuss kasi medyo complicated and then hindi din useful for board exam. So, we can calculate the 2V angle. But in essence, as the isojars move further apart, the 2V should increase. Kasi ang tip ng isojar is the melatope, in which dyan din nag-emerge ang optic axis. If it goes further apart, of course, bigger ang 2V angle. If it's closer, lesser ang 2V angle. So that is the Maillard's method. Another method is Tobey's method. It is similar to Maillard's, but it uses a chart for calculations. Ito yung chart. But I will not discuss paano gamitin ang chart since it is very unlikely na lalabas ko sa board exam. But the idea is may chart for calculations. And then another is CAMS. So using the acute bisectrix figure, and then it requires measurement of the angle every time na i-rotate ang field of view. So, mas complicated siya na method. It also uses a chart in which intersecting the average R and the distance, I think this is estimation of the distance using ito. So by intersecting, you can calculate the 2V angle here. Also, it contains multiple curves based on the properties of the microscope. So one of the parameters na gina-consider is itong NA, which is the numerical aperture of the microscope. It is used when the 2V is large and the melatopes are outside of the field of view. So ang angles na gina-calculate is ito, and then rotate, another rotation, and then eventually you will get the average of the 4 rotations, the R1, R2, R3, and R4. And then ito yung average ng R, and then depending on the properties of the microscope, i-intersect mo siya sa anong type of curve ang gamitin, and then pa-downward, this is the 2V angle. Okay. So why do we have to study interference figures? It's because we want to determine kung anong klase yung cut sa mineral. Okay? Because it is the interference figure that we use first to determine kung ano ang orientation sa mineral cut. Diba? When we create a thin section, dili man nato, we don't decide first kung anong cut. So, diretso ang paggawa natin ng thin section. Now, to study the minerals precisely, the use of the interference figure is to determine kung what exactly is the cut on that specific na mineral. So, we will study the interference figures. And then last of the first part sa lecture, the right method. This is the fourth method in determining the 2V angle. Mas madali ang right method. It's because it uses a visual guide lang, walang calculations. Mas easier ang right method. By observing the curvature of the isojars in a 45 degrees position, we can estimate lang because it is only a visual guide. So for example, ang 90 degrees na 2V, straight ang curvature. Ang 45 degrees, ito. And 30 degrees, ito. And ang 5, very close to the axis. So, ang right method ang pinaka-simple because it uses a visual guide to estimate the 2V angle. The other methods, the Maillard, the Tobis, and the Cambs method uses precise measurements and calculations to accurately determine the 2V angle. So, pinaka-easy ang right method. So that's it for lecture part. So we have covered from physics of light, properties of minerals, isotropism, uniaxial, and biaxial. So the next part of my lecture is ang laboratory part in which I will discuss kung ano yung mga functions ng petrographic microscopes as well as properties of common minerals. But before we proceed to laboratory, let's have a 10-minute break muna before we continue our discussion. So CR break and water break before I continue. Petrographic microscope. So petrographic microscope is also known as a polarizing microscope. These are the common parts of the polarizing microscope or petrographic microscope. So you have eyepiece, the ocular lenses, sa taas, and then some microscopes, walang Bertrand lens, but in this case, merong Bertrand lens. So a Bertrand lens is para siyang screw that you can eject sa microscope or insert sa microscope. Ang Bertrand lens, di ba? And then accessory plate, sometimes located sa southeast. Other microscope sa kabilang side. And then the analyzer, so which is the upper polarizer. Analyzer is also known as the upper polarizer. And then the revolving nose piece. So the proper rotation of the objective lens is to use the rotating nose piece. Bawal hawakan ang lenses, ang objective lenses. And then you have the stage. Sometimes merong measurements to determine angles and then clip. So that's for the upper part. Now for the substage, so under the microscope is what we call the substage assembly. So it consists of the condenser, iris diaphragm, and the lower polarizer. And then meron din yung auxiliary condenser. Auxiliary condenser, yan ang ginagamit for conoscopic. Pero pag yung inbuilt na condenser, that is for orthoscopic. Diba? You can remove or insert the auxiliary condenser. And then illuminator, dito yung source of light. And then adjust the elevation of the microscope stage. You will use the coarse focus or the fine focus. For coarse focus, pag abrupt na changes, and then fine focus pag minor changes or fine changes. So here's a table of a summary of the parts and function of the microscope. Light source, lower polarizer. So it is in the lower polarizer in which the unpolarized light is first converted into plain polarized light. So that's why pag lower polarizer lang ang naka-insert, we call it PPL, plain polarized light. Pag naka-insert ang analyzer, that is XPL, cross-polarized light. And you have the condenser, diaphragm controls the intensity and size of the light beam, and mga objective lens, ocular lens, Bertrand lens, again, for interference figures. Pero pag walang Bertrand lens, i-remove lang ang ocular. And then accessory plates such as gypsum, quartz wedge, and mica para ma-determine ang optic sign as well as the sign of elongation. So the illuminator, this is the light source of your microscope. So it consists of incandescent light mounted in the base. Its intensity can be adjusted using the rheostat. So the amount of the intensity of light that is coming from the illuminator can be adjusted using the rheostat. The field diaphragm will control the area that the light can pass through. Just like di kanang sa camera na mag-close open. So that is the field diaphragm. Ang rheostat intensity, kung high beam ba siya or low beam, just like sa car, field diaphragm ang area of illumination. And then substage assembly consists of these parts: the conoscopic lens, the diaphragm, and the lower polarizer. The lower polar or plain polarized light, sometimes it can rotate. So may angle of rotation din sa lower polar. And then the aperture diaphragm, it will adjust the light cone that will penetrate sa stage. This is the second na adjustment of the light. So the use of the aperture diaphragm is to increase the image contrast. And then condensing lens for orthoscopic illumination. Itong condensing lens that is built in sa microscope. You cannot insert or eject a condensing lens. Ang ma-insert and eject is ang auxiliary. That's why auxiliary ang tawag sa ito na lens. Auxiliary condensing lens, it's because it can be removed pag orthoscopic and then inserted pag conoscopic. So the use of the auxiliary condensing lens is to produce a highly converging light, which is very useful for conoscopic illumination. So that's under substage, below the stage. Pero itong light source, yung rheostat, hindi siya part ng substage. Even if under siya ng stage, ang ibig sabihin lang ng substage is yung directly under the stage of the microscope. And then stage, kung saan ilalagay ang thin sections. Meron siyang goniometer, which are the markings on the sides of the stage para ma-determine ang degrees sa angle of rotation. And then objective lenses. So naka-color code ang objective lenses. Also, different din ang sizes based on the magnification. Ang lower magnification, short, and then ang higher magnification, longer. It provides the primary magnification. Primary siya, it's because it is the first part that magnifies the image. Ang second na magnification is sa may eyepiece. So may magnification to, may magnification din ang eyepiece. So the total magnification is just the product, multiply mo ang magnification dito at saka dito sa taas. So primary siya, it's because siya ang first na mag-magnify. It is mounted on a rotating nose piece. Most student model microscopes may 2.5x, 10x, 40x. Sometimes 5x, 10x, 20x, 40x, depending on the type of the microscope. So, sa objective lens, may mga markings. One of the markings is ang numerical aperture. So it is the measure of the size of the cone of light that the microscope can accommodate. Also, may markings din sa thickness na pwede niya ma-accommodate. For example, yung mga higher magnification ng microscope, mas lesser ang thickness na pwede niya ma-accommodate. Okay, pag yung thickness ng cover slip is greater than what's indicated sa objective lens, pwede masira yung objective lens. Especially those with higher magnification. So you have to follow the thickness that's labeled in the objective lenses. Meron ding optical correction and magnification. So, in this example, this is 100x. Pero for sa aming microscope, yung maximum na magnification I think is only 40x. But for highly magnified na microscopes, merong 100x. So, terms to describe objective lenses, you have limit of resolution, free working distance, and then depth of field. So, the limit of resolution, it is the smallest distance between 2 points that can still be distinguished. So, as the numerical aperture increases, the limit of resolution decreases, resulting in higher resolving power. So that means na pag magtaas ang numerical aperture, ang distance na pwede mo ma-distinguish ang between 2 points is dapat mag-decrease. So easily identifiable ang parts ng image. And then higher resolving power. It can it has the ability to have a clearer image sa imong microscope. Sa imong image produced by the microscope. And then the free working distance. Ito yung distance na pwede pa in between the objective lens and the slide. So pag mag-exceed ka sa free working distance, possible na masira ang objective lens. And then lastly, the depth of field, which is related to how much the microscope or the objective lens can produce a sharp focus. So, lenses with low magnification and low numerical aperture have a larger depth of field. It means na mas malaki ang image na ma-produce or mas malaking area ang pwede ma-capture ng microscope. So that is the simply, ang limit of resolution is kung gaano ka-clear ang image para ma-identify mo yung mga adjacent na points or features. Ang free working distance is how much ang distance between the objective lens and the slide. This is important. It's because pwedeng masira ang objective lens pag very close na siya sa slide. And then the depth of field is kung gaano kalaki ang image na ma-produce. So yung mga low magnification, mas malaking area ang kanyang ma-capture. Ang higher magnification, smaller area ang kanyang ma-capture. And then upper polar, it is inserted pag XPL or cross-polarized light. So it is located sa upper part of the microscope. And then Bertrand lens, screw siya. Its main function is to view interference figures. Pag wala, again, you can remove the ocular. Pero hindi clear ang image na ma-produce. Sorry. And then, accessory plates para identify ang optic sign, also known as compensator. So you have the gypsum, mica, and quartz. Gypsum is first order red kasi yung color na ma-produce is ang magenta. Also, one wavelength kasi from first order maging second order. So that's one wavelength. Other labels for gypsum plate, you have gyps, ROT1, quartz sensitive tint, sometimes 550, sometimes 537 nanometers. Itong 550, 537, that's the specific wavelength that it can add to the retardation. And then mica plate, 1/4 of the retardation of the gypsum. So it is labeled as mica, glimmer, or 147. So 550 divided by 4, that is close to 147. And then quartz wedge, pag variable ang thickness. So there are two focusing knobs. You have the coarse focusing and fine focusing. Coarse, pag rapid changes in the distance. Fine, pag precise adjustments. So, pag lower magnification, coarse ang gamitin. Pero pag fine, pag higher magnification, that's when you have to use the fine focus para hindi masira ang objective lens. So general care of the microscope, isang kamay sa base, isang kamay sa arm. Bawal hawakan ang objective lens sa pag-carry. And then, the lenses are also sensitive with foreign na mga materials. So you have to use soft na materials in cleaning. So, advisable is to use compressed air para mawala ang dust. And then for oil and fingertips, use lens tissue, cloth. Then before gamitin ang cloth, dapat ma-remove ang dust and grit using the air, compressed air. And then bawal din na i-clean ang lenses gamit ang acetone or alcohol. So these are dangerous sa quality ng objective lenses. So general appearances of thin sections in transmitted light. Transparent na minerals as well as glass or liquid.